Family, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about a word we all use, but don't always understand. Grace. Grace. And if we misunderstand grace, we will misunderstand God, misunderstand each other, and misunderstand ourselves. There are two sides to this conversation. The new believer trying to find their footing, and the seasoned believer trying to stay faithful. Both need grace. Both receive grace. And both need to extend grace. Once again, both need to extend grace. Let's walk through this together. What grace actually is. Grace is God's unearned favor. That means God bends toward us even when we are bent out of shape. Grace saves, grace forgives, grace lifts. But grace does not mean God turns his head while we do whatever we want. Grace is not spiritual car insurance. It's not a policy you sign so you can drive recklessly and then expect a payout. God's grace covers us, but it also changes us. In fact, Titus 2 says grace teaches us how to live. Grace is both a gift and a teacher. Grace for new believers. Now, let's talk to the person who is new to the faith. When you first come to Christ, your spirit wakes up, but your habits don't disappear overnight. You may still stumble. You may still battle old patterns. That doesn't mean you're fake. That doesn't mean your salvation did not take. It means you are human. A newborn doesn't walk on day one. They grow into walking. New believers grow into living a Christ-shaped life. So if you are new and you mess up, grace is not surprise. God is not shocked. The Spirit is not confused. Growth takes time. Your job isn't to be perfect. It is to be willing. God works with willing hearts. But hear this. Grace is not permission to go backwards. Grace is power to go forward. You are learning. You are growing. You are becoming. And heaven celebrates every step. Now let's talk about grace for seasoned believers. Sometimes we forget the same grace that caught us as newborns is the same grace that keeps us now. We can get spiritual amnesia and look at someone struggling and think if they were really saved, they wouldn't do that. Truth is, if we were as strong as we pretended, we wouldn't do some of the things we still struggle with. Grace did not graduate from your life. Grace did not retire after year 5. Grace is still the only reason any of us can stand. Seasoned believers must remember we did not get here by willpower. We did not get here by perfection. We got here by grace, then, now, and tomorrow. This memory makes us compassionate instead of judgmental. Now, let's talk about not confusing struggling with surrender. Something important. There is a difference between falling into sin and diving into sin. One is weakness, the other is willingness. God covers weakness. Grace confronts willingness. A believer who falls into sin but hates the sin is alive in Christ. A believer who dives into sin and excuses it is drifting away from it. A believer who dives into sin and excuses it is drifting away from Christ. So if you see someone struggling, don't assume they are not saved. They might be fighting harder than you know. What should we do? Encourage them. Pray for them. Walk with them. That is what grace does. It restores, not reject. So let me say it again. Encourage them. Pray for them. Walk with them. That's what grace does. It restores, not rejects. Now, let's talk about grace having responsibility built in. Let's be clear, crystal clear. Clear as mud. I hope you got that. Grace does not give us a license to sin. Jude warned the church about people who turn the grace of God into permission for immorality. That's not real grace. That is misuse. When grace touches your heart, you don't want to stay the same. Grace does not just forgive sin. Grace teaches us to deny sin. Grace does not just erase the past. Grace shapes the future. If God saved you, God will also grow you. If God forgave you, God will also form you. Let's talk about why we all need compassion. When we understand both sides of grace, new believer and seasoned believer, it does something powerful. It makes us compassionate. We realize everybody is on a journey. Nobody is finished. Everybody is being shaped. Everybody is being taught by grace. Now we stop saying, if you were really saved, and we start saying, keep growing. God is with you. Grace does not lower the standard. Grace helps us reach the standard. In closing, the truth is, grace works. Grace works in us. Grace works on us. And grace works through us. And when you see someone struggling, remember where God found you. When you see someone growing, celebrate God's hand on their life. And if you are the one wrestling, grace has not given up on you. Grace is not exhausted with you. Grace is still teaching. Grace is still leading. Grace is still lifting. And grace is still shaping. Because grace is not a pass. Grace is power. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking the time to tune in to this video. And I hope and pray that something was said that will strengthen you on your journey. God bless you and God keep you, and may his light continue to shine upon you.